Okay. Peranakan means local born. So it refers to almost everybody. But in the context of what we Peranakan knows, after these many years of research and asking around, I think this concept can be broken down into, it is 80% the culture and the heritage of the old Chinese immigrant to this part, mainly the Hokkiens, followed by the Teochews who assimilate, and followed by the other communities who follow also the lifestyles of the Peranakans. So we are 80% Chinese customs and tradition of old China, and we assimilate. The 20% is from the local aspect of the people around here, the Malays, the customs and traditions, like having the tempat sirih, the kabayas, the language, and the food. And last of all, we are influenced by the Western influence. Now in Malacca and Penang, we are influenced by the Dutch, Portuguese. Singapore, we are influenced by the British. So as you see, the architecture is all Western influence with a mix of Chinese. So this makes us very unique, this 80 and 20% of what we call ourselves Peranakan. And there's so much to be talked about, so much to be recorded. So I hope that people will come forward and do more research work and have it on record, this culture. In 1900, the Straits Chinese British Association was formed with a group of Peranakan business people who were established in Singapore. Now the reason that they formed this association called the Straits Chinese is to help the community of the Straits Chinese to see to their needs and to see to the new immigrants that comes into Singapore. So invariably they were called the Straits Chinese because the British has formed the Straits settlement of Malacca, Penang and Singapore. I think in 1825, that is the peak of the Peranakan culture when the Straits settlement was formed, and that is why in the 1900s they decided to form the Straits Chinese British Association. So later part in the 1960s, one of the president, that is T.W. Wong, decided to change the name to the Peranakan Association to be a culture and heritage society, because the Straits Chinese was a very political association, very much pro-British. So if you have read your history, we became also the King's Chinese and very pro-British. So the Peranakan Association was formed in the 1960s. We have to look for the date for that. And ever since that, we have been a culture and a heritage society until what we are today. I think, okay, 4th generation Baba Peranakan in Singapore. My ancestry can be traced back to Malacca, and my great-grandfather's name is Tan Kiong Siak, which a street in Chinatown is named after him. Now recently, as far back as about, I think, October last year, I discovered his tomb in Bukit Brown. And when I discovered not only his tomb, but my great-grandmother's tomb also next to him, and my grand-uncle also, great-grand-auntie, all these tombs were discovered in Bukit Brown. And then later part, I restored the whole tomb, and to me it gives me all the reason for what I'm doing today as a Peranakan, and as this place which I inherit from my grandfather is known as Katong Antique House. Now the whole concept changes in this 21st century. I started more than 30 years ago as an antique shop, buy and sell, trade and restore furniture, beads, porcelain. In the process of doing, every piece that comes into my contact tells a story of my history and my culture and my past. Every Peranakan family that brings to me the item has their history. So invariably, history and culture became part of me. Because let me tell you, it is so important. Without this history and this culture, without this story, all the existence of your tables, your chairs, your kabayas has got no meaning. I've been a member of Peranakan Association for more than 20 years, and recently I took the reign from Mr. Lee as president of the Peranakan Association. So after, this is my first term, after that when I look into the association, it carries the weight, the name of the Peranakan Association. And I think, having gone through this culture, through many ups and downs, through its peak, and then to the different world wars that brought down this culture. Today there is a surge of interest. Much of this interest is due to the promotion from the association, from the National Heritage Board, from the TV series The Little Nyonya, and from individuals who come up and found that this is a very interesting culture. So I think we are at the stage of revival of the awareness. So what we look for, we find the material culture around us and it tells us the story. And in the association, we hope to project and to be a storyteller to the people who are interested in this culture. And in so doing, we have to leave the interpretation of this culture to this generation. Because I've seen that we cannot bring the past back into the 21st century because it does not fit the whole scene of thinking and lifestyle and so on. So we have now many people who come in and who did plays, who interpret, who did shows. And I say, good, at least there is a surge of interest. I cannot say the revival of the past, but the interpretation of the present, using whatever memories they have and whatever knowledge they have, they infuse a new vision of a new Peranakan of the 21st century. And I think that to me has come out of the interest even from China. People asking what is this all about. So we tell them this story, and I think for us Singaporeans it is very crucial because I think this culture is really the Singapore culture because it encompasses all the racial harmony, religious tolerance. Your neighbors are able to communicate with you, and then this I hope will remind the future generation when they look into the Peranakan culture that this is what Singapore is all about. Okay, if someone who is not a Peranakan, but he's interested in staying in a Peranakan house concept because he likes architecture, then he likes to, I have friends who are non-Peranakan but live in a Peranakan house, and then they like to wear the Peranakan baju, they like to eat Peranakan food, and we feel very tickled by it that at least there are people who liked this culture. And hopefully this will influence our own Peranakan young people to be aware of this unique culture we call Peranakan. So if a person likes to collect Peranakan but who's not a Peranakan, you're most welcome. You see, this culture is open to all, and that's why the association is open to all who are interested in the culture.